So, Nimble Superman back again. Just sitting here doing a bunch of videos, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about Man of Steel, the movie that they did, and kind of my thoughts about it, and compared to everybody else's, and just my general thoughts about it, because that's what this channel's about. It's just my thoughts. It's not really a big review. It's like you can just kind of take my opinion with a grain of salt. And if you have a completely different opinion, that's fine. Like, that's totally good for you. Like, I just don't need to, hear about it, I guess. It's like, I think that's one of the things about movies. It's like you can have really different opinions about something, like, and then, I find, like, the more you watch something, the more your opinion will change. Like it's actually funny. Like, when I first saw Green Lantern, I went to midnight premiere. This is a funny story. I went to midnight premiere, and I was so excited for that movie. So excited. And when I watched it the first time, I thought, well, it wasn't that great. Just trying to be more, because I'm more of an optimistic person. If you haven't figured out, I'm trying not to be negative. I hate it when people are really super negative about things. I try to be optimistic. I try to look at the positive side of things. And when I first saw Green Lantern, I thought, "Oh, this is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad." And then the next day, I started seeing all the reviews, and people were just absolutely shitting all over this thing. And I thought, "Wow, I didn't think it was that bad." Because I guess it was just sort of part of myself saying that, like, I wanted the movie to be good. So I guess I think that was when I first realized that, like, man, I can be really biased. Like, when I really want something to be successful so I can get more of it. Because I think Green Lantern movies should happen, and it should be good. Like, more DC films should happen, because the possibility of them being good is definitely there. Like, it's, you hear a lot of people, and their first opinion about anything, especially DC related, is that, oh, it's crap. It's going to be crap. And man, that's just, it really puts you down. Like, when you're trying to get excited for something, you know. And speaking of excitement, like, when I was there, like, in terms of Man of Steel, I was there for hype, like, pretty much since it was first announced. Like, because I always consider myself a big fan of just film, just TV shows, animation. I always considered, myself. That was definitely myself as a fan before comics, but comics has really just been added to that, right? You know. Yeah, sorry, I had to pause the video there. Um, yeah, like, so with Man of Steel, I was there since pretty much the very beginning. uh, in terms of hype. And I remember Henry Cavill getting first casted. I remember them announcing Zack Snyder was going to be attached to it, and just, oh, this good news, good news. And I remember being so pumped for that movie. Oh my god, it was just insane. Like, I felt like I was having a heart attack when the big fight with Zod was happening, and it was just so amazing. Because, like, one of the things about myself is that I've always felt like I'm more of a visualist, and I always like, superhero fights, but I like it when they have good choreography, and they look generally good. I don't like things when they're usually obviously on, like, what's the word, on ropes, and you, like, somebody, like, gets punched or whatever, and they kind of, like, ooh, like, falling back or whatever, and you can just tell that, like, they're on ropes, like somebody's, like, pulling them back. I was just like, oh my god, just, I hate the look of that. I'm obviously more of a fan of CG, because I was born in 91, so I've been just slowly growing up on, like, more CG stuff. I do like practical from time to time, but, like, when it looks good. It's like, because always the biggest thing with me, like, in terms of superhero special effects, is like when somebody gets punched, and they have, super strength, right? Like, if, say, Superman punches, I don't know, somebody who else is super powered, like Wonder Woman, it shouldn't look like a punch that, like, if I just normal, or if normal human beings like punched each other. It shouldn't look like that. It should be like huge. They should go flying, or there should be just like kind of a big pow, like kind of sound, when they get punched. They should look like they have superpowers. Otherwise, it really takes you out of it. So, I guess you can already figure out that, like, I was a big fan of Man of Steel, like, in terms of that, like, that aspect, visually, to say the least, it was everything that I ever wanted to see. Like, in terms of the visual side of things, it was everything I wanted to see with Superman. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know we could ever get that for a superhero movie. It was that crazy, in my opinion. Like, just visually. I don't understand when people talk about how they didn't like it visually. I think people just, like, honestly are just being too sore about it. And they're just trying to find things to complain about. It's like, gosh, like, visually it was amazing. Now, obviously there's been problems with the plot, and how they did, like, Clark and things like that. I actually made a list one time of things that I felt like were wrong, and I don't have the list around me. I'm just kind of just doing up videos, but I felt like one of the problems was that there was too many, like, assumptions. There was too many things happening because we're doing a Superman movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's a great example? The reporter aspect, like Clark Kent being a reporter. I felt it was extremely stupid when he came in at the end of the movie and all of a sudden he's a reporter at the Daily Planet. I just felt that was really ridiculous, because, like, they gave no hints that, like, one, he ever, like, got any kind of education to be a reporter. It's like, where in his timeline did he ever, like, go to college or anything to get education? It's like, did he even do high school? I assume he did high school, but you don't even see him go to college or anything like that to get some sort of education. And another thing too, you never see any aspects of him being a reporter. It's just things that are very coincidental. Like, when you think about Clark, when he's in that bar and he's kind of working there, he's kind of just getting a job. He overhears the army guys talking about, this thing up in the Arctic and that kind of thing. And it's just, like, that was when it first hit me, where it's just like, what is Clark doing up to that point? That really hit me when I hit that scene. It's like, what is he doing? Like, okay, so, like, he comes to Krypton, he's a kid, his dad dies, and then I guess he wants to, like, go around and see, where he came from. I'm just assuming. Again, that's what the movie makes you do. It makes you assume, or makes assumptions and makes you assume. And he just magically just ends up there at the bar and just magically overhears those guys talking about it. And it was like, if he didn't overhear that, he would have never found that ship up there, which is crazy to me. I felt like it could have been so simple to just been like, to show a scene of maybe Clark after hours, maybe cleaning up at the bar, and maybe he's got in a backpack, he's kind of got, like, newspaper clippings or journal articles or any kind of research, as to, maybe alien sightings or anything, or to find out, where he's come from. Like, because, like, you don't get any sense of what he's doing. It's like, you just kind of got to assume. And then he shows up at the end of the movie, and it felt like the only reason they did that is because we already know he's Superman and he needs to be a reporter. And to me, that's not enough. Like, you just don't make assumptions like that. People don't just magically become things. It's like, there should be reasons that happens. I felt like they really dropped the ball on that. I mean, it doesn't break it. Like I said, I like the movie. It doesn't break it, but it definitely, I think, hurts it. You know, like if they ever did, because then afterwards, he's hitchhiking, and it's like, why is he hitchhiking? That makes literally no sense. Why is he hitchhiking? He doesn't mind the cold. He could jump over there or something like that. Like, again, I had no idea why they chose to do that, and they could have just had a simple scene of him just showing him with reporter kind of characteristics. You know, simple, in my opinion. Gosh. And then my second main problem, I guess, was the suit. That's more of a personal issue. I wouldn't say it's literally like a huge problem with the film. It's just personal taste. I have never been a huge fan of that suit. It's like, gosh, the cape's a bit too long. It's, the blue's a bit dark. I didn't like what they were doing about the wrists. It's like the little gauntlet thing design. I don't know. And then what they were doing around his waist, and I thought the boots were okay, but like I said, like I just wasn't a fan of the suit. Like again, like I don't mind it, but I would definitely not like to see it come into the comics. Yeah, I just felt like out of all the designs for the Superman suit, like obviously I knew we weren't going to go for the trunks, but like that's what they come up with. I don't know, because like that's the way I honestly feel like when people make mistakes in film, either visual or just with story or whatever. It's you just can't help but get that feeling of like, how long did it come up? Did you guys come up with this? Like, I don't know. Like, and I just hate to be too negative, but and like I said, that's more of a personal issue. It doesn't even break it or anything like that. That's just my personal opinion. I wasn't a fan of the suit. And then I think the third part. I think obviously you got to talk about the killing of General Zod. Just first off, like, man, what kind of balls you got to have to say Superman's gonna like basically kill somebody in a Superman movie? Like, man, you got to have balls. You got to have, and if you're Warner's, you got to have belief in your director and everything like that. Because I don't know, I don't think it was ever a plan. In terms of like, oh, is it going to come up in Batman v Superman and Justice League and all this kind of stuff? I don't think it was even that. I think it was just they just felt like that was the right thing to do in that moment of the movie. And I guess my opinion on it is I don't mind it, and I kind of do, uh, because I don't. It's not that Superman can't kill people, because obviously he's killed people before in the comics, like. It's not like he's never killed anybody, and he doesn't even have this kind of personal belief of not killing. But he just doesn't kill because you just wouldn't want to kill. Like Superman's the ultimate good guy. He's the ultimate hero. He just doesn't want to kill because he just doesn't want to kill. He's just that kind of guy, and that's fine with me. I wouldn't want him to be killing people. And I still don't like it whenever he does. It's just I just don't want the character to live in this kind of fantasy land where the story will always be written in a way that he'll always be able to avoid killing somebody, because that's not how you avoid the question. It's like, and I think some people like the idea of Superman living in a world where it's very optimistic and hopeful and fun, and death never happens and yada yada yada. But I also don't want Superman to live in a world that's like super dark and he's always killing people. I just felt like with the movie, you just didn't need to do that. I just felt like it wasn't necessary, and especially for a movie where like, you only get those every now and then, and that's the climax or the big ending of the movie, like kills General Zod. It's just I felt like we didn't. First of all, didn't need to do that, and two, I just didn't want to see that. Like I didn't, I just didn't want to see that. And boy, it doesn't help everything that happens after that. Oh man, like everything after that whole devastation in Metropolis and like uh, killing Zod is, you just have again Clark showing up as a reporter smiling, and then he has this other scene with, gosh, Colonel, I don't even know, uh, and he's just kind of joking around, and I'm like, dude, like you just went through a big thing. Like the city's going through a big thing. Like, and you're just joking about like, you're trying to find out where I hang my cape. I'm like, that's not how you handle it, man. Like, and that's another thing. You don't go for the biggest, ballsiest thing you could ever do in a Superman movie and follow it up with that. You know, like I said, I've kind of come up with ideas for things that I felt wrong with the film, and I also kind of came up with like ideas of like how you could have avoided that. Just like easily. Like I don't even know if I spent like that long on it. I just kind of just came up with different ideas. Like, well, you could have rethought the Phantom Zone. You could have thought of ways to get Zod and his cohorts in the Phantom Zone, and even with his cohorts, like he didn't even need that many. Like, I think there's like 10, 20 Kryptonians that are like going around with Zod. You didn't even need that many. Maybe you just needed Zod and Ursa and Non and maybe that scientist guy in it. I think Jaxer is his name. Well, obviously Jaxer is like has got a history in the comics, but like I think that was his name in the film. Actually, I was kind of put off by that. I'm like, that's Jaxer. Okay. Uh, yeah, like I just felt like there were so many ways you could have just got around that. Like I even toyed with the idea of maybe Jor-El, like the computer program of Jor-El, maybe he designs this kind of um like bomb thing or something that kind of like absorbs the solar radiation from, you know, uh like both the Kryptonians' bodies, and it's like this kind of grenade. Think of like Blade 2. There's like a grenade with light, but it like puts out light. This like thing would like absorb solar radiation, so you could actually have a scene where maybe Zod and Clark are kind of depowered, and maybe I don't know, someone soldier or somebody comes in and they're forced to kill Zod when he doesn't have his powers. And you take out the idea that Clark was the one that had to put him down or something. There's just so many ways it could have went around. And even with Neil Adams, like Neil Adams had like a thing where it's like, why doesn't he just cover his eyes? I just felt like it just wasn't handled right. And I'm not saying creatively you can't do it, and I'm not saying that like forever the DC cinematic universe is ruined because Clark killed Zod. I'm just saying the way the film was, it just wasn't necessary. That's honestly just the way I look at it. It doesn't break it. It just wasn't necessary. So, yeah, just I guess in conclusion, I love Man of Steel. I've honestly, I think it's probably my favorite movie because I'm such a hardcore Superman fan. It's not because, it's literally the best movie ever. It's just because I enjoy watching it so many times. Like, there's so many great scenes. Like, I love all the Krypton stuff. I love Russell Crowe in the film. He's amazing. Like, he has this conversation with Zod, like, while they're, obviously when, Jor-El's alive in it. Um, yeah, just so many good scenes. Like, and like when Superman's on the oil rig and he's lifting the thing coming down, and when he's flying for the first time, it's just so much good stuff as a Superman fan. Visually, it was everything that I ever wanted to see in a Superman film. Obviously, except for the suit, but just about everything. And although I didn't talk about the death of Jonathan Kent. That was another thing I meant to mention. I'm sorry this video is going on for so long, but just kind of I guess briefly, the death of Jonathan Kent. Didn't really enjoy it. I actually like honestly, if I'm talking as like a Superman fan, I actually like when both the Kents are alive, because I think my favorite version of Superman is the Superman animated series, the DC animated universe version of the character, and like his parents are alive for like a long, long time. Like, obviously it's thematically very cool, for Jonathan Kent to die. I just felt like in the movie it was just woo, it was done in a bad way. Like I felt like it didn't really have much purpose. All it really did was like darken his Superman's world. It just darkened him, and it's just why. It's like he dies a certain like dies by like the wind taking him out. He dies trying to save the dog. The dog, like, and I'm a dog person. I love dogs, but like, really, like that's how Jonathan Kent's gonna die. He's gonna die trying to save the dog. Oh my lord! Like, I just felt like it was just done, really, just not in a way that one you wanted to see. Two, it just wasn't really interesting. And it just felt like this is not one. It just felt like sorry, just going on. I'm just rambling here. It just wasn't the way to do it. If I was doing it, I would just kept Jonathan Kent alive. Just keep Martha and Jonathan alive. Why not? You got Kevin Costner, you got Diane Lane. Why not keep them alive? And you could have done the death of Jonathan Kent, later in another film, and it could have been more interesting. And it could have even been interesting, if Jonathan Kent was alive, and you do the death of Zod, and then maybe afterwards, Jonathan Kent is consoling Clark about it. Like, right? Like, it's again, just I feel like it's better. I don't know about you, but yeah. Anyways, love Man of Steel. Can't wait for other movies. Just this is just my general thoughts. Um, yeah, just can't wait for all this other stuff, especially Batman v Superman. Just can't wait. Um, I hope you enjoy it, or enjoy Batman v Superman. I hope you enjoyed Man of Steel. I really do. Obviously, it has problems, but I can't help but feel like the good outweighs the bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just outweighs it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is Nimble Superman. My thoughts on Man of Steel. Signing off.